In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace your rear door on a 2001 to 2007 Dodge Grand Caravan or Chrysler Town and Country. Now this particular van happens to be one that I'm going through right now and cleaning up, refurbishing, fixing things and getting it ready for resale at my dealership. Now as you can see, it's got a pretty big dent right here in this corner, and so I either needed to get this fixed or replace it. And one of the key things I'll do with something like this, and this will save you a lot of money, is if you go out to your local salvage yard, you can take your paint code off of your driver's door, and I'll show you how to find that. Go out to your local salvage yard. If you can find another van that's in those same years that has the same paint code, then you're able to just replace this door with another one, and your colors are going to match. You don't have to worry about getting it painted and doing all that expense. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Now the cost of my new door from the salvage yard was only $80. So in theory, I'm going to replace this entire door, get rid of this dent, and have a nice looking door here for $80. So I'm going to show you how I do this step by step, so hopefully it'll help you get your job done. Hey everyone, welcome to Javo's Garage. Here on this channel, we do how-to car repair videos, we do really cool garage projects, as well as some tool reviews of things that I use here from day to day, but with a focus on providing you with the details that you normally won't find in most of your how-to videos. So if you're new here, please consider subscribing. Let's get started on this rear door. So the first step of our process is we're going to need to get our third brake light housing removed so we can disconnect our washer fluid lines and our electrical from it. And there are two screws that hold that in, and they are a T25. Now that we have the screws out of our housing and it's out, we wanted to show you more up close. First thing you're going to want to do is disconnect your washer fluid nozzle, and there are two tabs on here. You're just going to press those together and then just kind of pull out on that, and then this washer nozzle will come right out of your housing as you see here. And this here are your two tabs that you're going to press just like this, and as you can see, that releases it. Then the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pull back on the red tab for your electrical until it clicks in the backward position, and sometimes those things can be kind of fun to get with Chrysler. And if you have to, there you go, right there. And once you do that, you'll see you have the little retaining tab up above it, in front of it. You'll just press that and pull backwards on your electrical, and then you're disconnected. Another thing you're going to want to be able to do is to disconnect this hose line from this fitting so that you can pull the hose line out through the bottom of the window. Now, one of the things that'll help you is if you'll hold on to the hose line and kind of twist on this just to try and loosen it up, and then I'll usually try and use my thumb and try and pull on it and see if it comes off. And a lot of times when they're old like this, it's starting to just a little bit. There we go, just like that. Now, another thing you could do is if that's giving you a lot of hassle, one thing that would help is if you took like a lighter and if you heat it up just a little bit, not a lot, just enough to get the rubber softer, then it makes it easier for you to pull that off. But in this case, as you saw, I was able to do that. So now that we have these disconnected, we can move on to the next step. Once you've done that, open up your door. Now we're going into the under part of the door here. As you can see, this here's your weather stripping. Here's your hinge for your door. We are on the right hand or passenger side, and you'll see this here is your washer fluid line, and then this here also has your electrical that's going to go up into your door. So we're going to start with the washer fluid line, and one of the tools that will help you do this job is going to be something like this. This here is just a little mini pry bar. Funny enough, they actually call this a tack puller, but I use this for car stuff all the time because it has a smaller little pry end on it, and I'm able to get it into places. But we have a rubber grommet that's on here, and what we want to do is just kind of work this in here and start to pry this down, and we'll see it start to come out just like that. And there we go. Now what you want to do is go ahead and just keep pulling that down, and you'll see your washer fluid line will come out with it. And it's got some length to it there. And there we go. So now we have our washer fluid line out, and we'll just kind of set this off to the side. Now, the next thing you want to do is disconnect your electrical. And basically this rubber boot just seals off your electrical connections between your rear door and your body of your van. Now, you don't need to disconnect it from down here, and there isn't a plug down there. Your plug is up here. And once again, you're going to take your little pry bar and you're just going to kind of work it in and pry it down. And that will just give you access to be able to pull down your electrical. Now, the next thing you'll have, if we keep following this up, is that plug I was telling you about is going to be located about right up in here. But in order to get that out, we're going to have to remove the trim. So let's move on to starting to remove the trim off the door, and let me show you how we do that. So now while we still have our door open, this here is our panel. And the first thing you're going to want to do is for this handle here, you'll see you have two holes right here, and there are two Phillips head screws that are located in these holes, or maybe you want to say one Phillips head screw in each hole. So you'll just take your screwdriver, and it sounds funny, but over the years, these things have kind of been kind of a pain to be able to find the heads properly on them. And I have found to use just a hand tool as opposed to an electrical. Let me start on this side. Now, there we go. Works better to be able to do this. So we'll just go ahead and do that. And there's our first screw. Hopefully you can see that there. That's what they look like. And I'm just going to set that down here for a minute. Now we'll go back over here. And you don't want to strip these out. So if you kind of set your screwdriver in there and just kind of move it back and forth a bit, you'll feel it kind of click down inside of those. I've seen many of these out at the salvage yard where people end up just busting these out because it sounds funny, but it can be hard to find those. And there's our second one right there. Now, once you do that, now you're ready to start taking off this entire panel. And what you'll do, and let me move the camera back so you can get a wider view, but what I always do is I'll start right here where this handle is and give it a quick, firm pull and start pulling it down, because now at this point, outside of these two screws, it's basically held in around the perimeter and a few here along the middle with just plastic retainers. And then you'll have one electrical connection that's going to be for your cargo light back here. So when you pull this down, you want to be careful. You want to kind of keep it up close so that way you can disconnect your electrical for your light, and then you can remove the panel. This should provide you with a better view. So now what I'll do is I'll put one hand up here on the door just to kind of hold it, and you'll see it's moving a little bit right here, but you have your first one's going to be about right in here in your tab. So I'll grab it towards this side of the handle and just give it a quick firm pull. Just like that. And now that it starts to come off, you can kind of just run your hand up in there and pull it. But rather than finish that, I want to go around this way and take it off so the door kind of comes down like this, and I can reach up in here and disconnect the electrical for our light. So I just kind of keep working my way along, just like this. And we're almost there. And there we have it. So now once we do that, it kind of goes up inside of the other one. And there we go, we're out. Now, you'll see, and I'm trying to twist this so you can see it, here's the electrical for that light. And it's got just a little tab on it, and you'll lift that tab up, pull it back, and then once you disconnect that, your whole back panel here is now removed, and you can set that off to the side. Now, for those of you who have the vans that have the rear power door option, you're going to need to disconnect this arm that actually goes down and connects up to your motor. Now, in this case, I have this panel out because we're doing the full-on deep detail, and those of you who watch my videos have seen where I pull out the interior to do a deep clean. That's what this one's getting. So this panel is out. However, to do what you're doing with this door, you don't need to remove this panel. All you need to do is disconnect it up here. Now, this particular fitting here is a T40 star bit. So what you'll do is you'll just kind of put your socket in there like so. And then once that's loose like that, you'll just take it out, and you can go ahead and just let that rest down here. Now, if you have your panel in here, it can still just sit inside of there, but be careful that you don't get it shut in your door here off to the side. Make sure it sits inside so you don't have any problems there. So now that we have that out of the way, we need to start removing this trim panel, and that will give us access to our electrical connections that are inside of here. Now let's go ahead and remove this trim panel here. And I always just start on one side, and you'll just kind of pull it inwards like so. And then you'll just kind of start working your way around, and it should come out pretty easy. These aren't held in except with just some retainers. Just like that. And let me flip this over so you can see. So these here are the retainers that hold it in around. So they're pretty easy. You can just pop that out by hand. So now that we have this out, we'll set it off to the side. And now it's time for us to get to our electrical connections located up here. Believe it or not, you're almost ready to take your door off. So as you can see, this here is the side. This is the right hand or passenger side. We have this boot that's loosened down, and we're going to go ahead and do the same thing with this side here now, and we're on the driver's side. And we just have that down like so. So now what we need to do is actually disconnect the electrical so we can pull these out of our door. Now up here you'll see you have a plug located here and you have a plug located here. Now to get these out on the sides, on each side here, you have these little tabs. Hopefully you can see me press those in. When you press those in, you'll just pull this out, and then this reveals your connector right here. And right here is a retaining tab. And what you'll do is you'll just press that, and I'm trying to keep my hands out of the way for you here, and then just pull on it, and then they'll disconnect, okay? Once you do that, push this back up in here like so, and now you can start to feed your wiring down through the bottom of the door just like this, okay? So you now have this side done, and if you want to keep it from falling around, you just plug that back in. We're going to do the same thing over here, except this time I'm going to use my pry bar on that side, my finger here, and just pull it out. There's our retaining clip right there. Sorry, I bumped the camera. I'm just going to press that down with my finger and pull out, and there we go. I'll push that back up inside the door, as you see there. And now just go ahead while I'm there and push that in. And now pull this out through the bottom. And now all of our electrical is disconnected from our door. Now, the only thing we have left to do is to disconnect our two struts, and then we can go ahead and unbolt the hinges and remove the door. Now, for one of the final steps of our process before we remove the door, now we have to disconnect our struts from the door. Now, at this point, you're going to need to have a helper or something to hold your door up, because once you disconnect these struts, you have nothing that's going to be able to hold your door in place. So I don't have a board, but I do have my boy, and that works out even a bit better. He's going to hold that door while we disconnect these struts. So let me show you how to do that. These are a star bit, and these are also a T40, and you'll just go ahead and remove those. And there's that one. I'm going to move to the other side and disconnect that one. And now we are disconnected. So now we're ready to disconnect and remove our door. Now you have two hinges on here, and you have two options. You can take out the bolts on the bottom, and there are three there, or you can take out the two on here. Now when I'm removing the door at the salvage yard, I'll take out the three here along the bottom and take the hinges with the door, just so that I have them in case something goes wrong or I need them, that I have the hinges. However, when I'm replacing this door, I'm going to take out the two bolts up here and then remove the door, because then when we go to install the new door, we can kind of rest it on this hinge area, line it up, and bolt it in place. So let's go ahead. These are a 10 millimeter. You have two bolts here and two bolts here. The other advantage of doing it this way too is now once it's unbolted, the door's still going to kind of rest down in this hinge area. It's not going to go sliding off on you. So now that we have that done, my helper is going to move to the other side, and you're just going to slowly lower the door down. And then if you want, you could just set it right on the ground, right behind the van. So now we have our entire door out and everything has been taken out of the way. We have our electricals hanging here, so that way we can reconnect it once we get our new door installed. We have our washer fluid line, and then we have our struts are just kind of hanging down in here. If your struts are getting kind of weak, now would be a good time to actually do those since you have everything disconnected. However, we're now ready to bring the new door over, set it up and bolt it into place.